We've got a code 187.
Officers on the scene.
Some of my content has mention of extreme violence, sexual assault, and/or other triggering content. Discretion is advised.
All right. Well, I guess we're just winging it.
All right.
All right. Well, welcome to Code 187 Freestyle Edition.
Freestyle.
This is Drew, and that's Sarah. So we're not actually going to be freestyling.
You don't want to hear that.
You don't want to hear that at all. It would be bad. But we've known each other for a really long time, and so I think it would be good to just kind of back and forth, ask some questions, talk about all things true crime, and see if anything comes out of it that's interesting, that interests all of you. So let's go.
All right.
All right. So this is completely all. See, I can't even think of what it's called. What's that called in comedy where they, whose line is it anyway? Where they're just,
I can't think of the word.
Yeah, I can't think of the word either. But yeah, this is completely impromptu.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely impromptu. So we're gonna be talking a lot and stumbling over our words. Hopefully, there's some stuff in here that interests all of you.
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna come at you with a question, almost like I'm interviewing you.
Okay.
All right, so you started doing this Code 187, which was also Dark Enigmas first, for those who haven't been with the channel quite as long.
Mm-hmm.
What was it that led you to doing a YouTube channel?
Well, I was very interested in true crime. I did a YouTube channel, a kids channel, which don't go looking for it, please. It's good.
Or if you do, just know the two contents are vastly different.
Vastly different. And I really wanted something for myself. And something that I was interested in only me, because at that time COVID hit and I was all about just trying to teach my daughter and survive like the rest of us. And so me doing Code 187 was a way for me to gain confidence, it has, and to just connect with people that I had interest in true crime with.
Right.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like you're on the spot right now?
A little bit. I feel like I'm being interviewed and I'm like, I'm not going to get this job.
Yeah. No, you're going to do fine. So that's interesting, though. You mentioned getting to know people in the true crime space. I do remember that's something that you kind of did at the time. You have actually been a part of. So you're some of the ones that you like Morbid, you like
Crime Junkie.
You have a few other ones that you like, but you go out there now and you're just, even not as Code 187, but even on your personal accounts, you kind of go out sometimes and you just read through true crime and try to connect with people in the community, because it's kind of a sense of a connection, right? Is that mostly what, or is it mostly information gathering, or is it mostly just being part of the community yourself?
I think it's both. I constantly will see, I get a lot of Google updates for cases. And when I do, I go to those Facebook groups that I'm on. And I am like, did you hear about this? Did you hear about that? And there's just a flurry of people talking and connecting and trying to solve a case. We're in this weird time where we have everything at our fingertips and it's solving cases. We saw it with Gabby Petito, and we're starting to see it more and more where people are armchair detectives,
right,
are just really getting it. And I have met the coolest people. I know that I don't have very many subscribers, but the few people who contact me and who talk to me are like, they make my day.
Right.
And they're like, have you heard this? And, I watched your video, and I'm like, why are you up at 7 o'clock in the morning with me on a Saturday? And it's fun. It's a community.
Yeah, and you've been very much about the community side of things, where you really appreciate those people who comment, who and that's kind of the cool thing about following you now, is you're not so big that you can't read everybody's comments.
Right.
You're still to the point where you're starting to realize certain people that comment on a lot of videos. You're starting to kind of actually know people a little bit.
Right.
Which is pretty cool.
We've become true crime best friends.
Right.
So
absolutely. So that's really cool. We're spitballing this so much that it's almost turned into a me to you interview. Do you want to do that, or do you want to ask me some questions, or how do you want to go?
I don't care. I will do whichever.
I can ask you questions all day. I don't know why. I just feel like I can keep coming up with them. So but if you wanna grill me some too and throw it back at me, that's fine.
I have one thing.
Okay.
So today I listened to a two-parter from Morbid on John Benet Ramsey.
By the way, I love the way they say certain things with their accent. One is rum.
Rum.
Yep, that's not the way we say it here in Kansas, but I love it.
Go to your rum. Yeah, so I listened to this two-parter on John Benet Ramsey. I want to know what all you know of John Benet Ramsey and what your theory is.
So I've watched.
And don't get sued by Burke.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't even know who that is. So please don't sue me, Burke. But
they said
now I'm scared. Now I'm like, what landmine do I need to avoid?
They said we don't want to get sued by Schmirk Schmamji because they're like, I guess he gets a little bit.
Right. Well, so I don't know a ton about it. I've seen some documentaries on it. It's one of those things that would probably, as you started talking about it, would remind me of more things. I think one of the first things I think about, and you and I have talked about, is like, because of that case, I hate beauty pageants.
Yeah.
Sorry to anybody who does that. It doesn't mean you're a bad person, but like they freak me out now.
Yeah. It's a lot.
And it's just because of like, it just feels like it's easy access for creepers to be creeps.
Right.
And I don't like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good to it. There's a lot of like teaching of things. There's a lot of, kids getting to dress up and kids getting to be kids and girl power. There's a lot of really good things to it. I'm just terrified of the creeps out there.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm overcautious, but and maybe it's because we've talked about true crime, because I've now heard about a lot of creeps, and so that scares me.
I did not know in the John Benet Ramsey thing, and for pageant girls, they wear fake teeth, because you know how when
Never knew that either.
Kids of that age, their teeth are falling out.
Right.
They wear fake teeth to make it look like they don't have falling out teeth, which is like, why are you making them do that? It just, to me, it makes it seem like you're saying you're not beautiful because your teeth are falling out, which is something they can't control.
That's another thing a lot of people have issues with on beauty contests, is like, or pageants, is they are kind of beauty contests, and there's a lot of vainness to it. I mean, come on, like a kid who lost their teeth, it just, to me, it makes you think of like, all I want for Christmas is my two front teeth. Like, like it's kids. It's like innocence. That's supposed to be cute and funny. Like, you don't need to make them perfect and, have them dress to the nines or whatever. Just have them be kids and have them dress up however. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I definitely wouldn't be a judge at one of those things, because I feel like if I was a judge, I like the kid that had two different color shoes on, I'd be like, that kid was being creative.
Right. That's a creative choice.
Right. That kid's thinking outside the box.
Right.
Or, the kid that's like, somebody trips and that kid helps the other person up. I'm like, there, vote for that kid.
Yep.
So yeah, I couldn't I couldn't do it. But
well, maybe I will do John Benet Ramsey one time because there's a lot of information, and it's one of those cases that I still, if you ask me what I'm asking from heaven, it's what the heck happened to John Benet Ramsey? Tell me now.
There's little pieces of evidence I kind of remember. So I remember
the damn pineapple.
I don't remember the pineapple,
Okay.
so you can say that one for me. I was going to say the windowsill in the basement.
Yes.
That was one of the big pieces because they said of the way the dirt was moved, right?
There was no dirt.
There was no dirt moved. So how did they get in and out of the basement
there was
window?
cobwebs around it.
Right. And so I remember that being a big piece of evidence. I remember the murder weapon being a big piece of evidence, which was like paintbrushes, right? With something tied between them, like a string.
It's called a garrote, yeah. And that goes around
which I'd
neck.
never heard that until this case. I mean, I'm sure there's other cases with it. But yeah, there's pieces like that. And then, you know, there's one of the suspects was the creepy Santa Claus. So immediately, like, you get like, all right, this is some what's his name? Gacy. You get some Gacy vibes. You're sitting there going, oh, that's terrifying. Like, I hope it's not the Santa just because that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But, you know, no matter who did it, it's terrible.
It is.
I mean,
it is
that poor child.
Yep.
But yeah, to answer your question, there's little pieces I know of it, but I couldn't put the story together for you at all.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to do it then.
Yeah. Which that's kind of a good lead in. So talking about our true crime backgrounds. So for me, I am by no means an expert at all. What I've watched, I've mostly watched with her. And for me, it kind of started with Making a Murderer. I watched this Making a Murderer season 1 on Netflix, and I sent her a message and I was like, you got to check this out. And I didn't even know how into true crime you would be. I don't even think you knew at that point. But it wasn't like I got you into true crime because you always liked horror movies and you always liked the Halloween movies and things like that. But when I sent you that, you're like, that was amazing. Yeah. And, you know, you went more after that into other stuff. You started watching documentaries everywhere. I was just kind of like, yep, I saw it. That was my true crime expedition. I'm going to go back to watching what I normally do. But you didn't even realize at first that this was kind of your thing. I don't feel like until you started finding podcasts, right? Right.
And then I was like, oh, I like this.
Right. So when it comes to who knows what, she's, you know, she probably won't want to call herself an expert, but I will call you an expert in the fact that, like, at least she has watched and read more true crime than anybody I know. And I would be willing to bet more than a lot of people. And then for me, I'm kind of just here doing the color commentary where I'm like, you did what?
Why?
Yeah. We're both from this area, which is the Kansas area.
Kansas City area.
Yep. And even kind of grew up in more of the central Kansas area. So when you've talked about cases like BTK and the Carr brothers, those are cases that we both know really well, actually. Yep. Because we lived around them. The Carr brothers case would be an interesting one for us to go back and redo at some point, just because that case to me, it's just so twisted and it makes me mad.
Talk about home invasions.
Right.
Whew.
Yeah, it makes me mad that it happened to those people because they seem like legitimately good people.
They all were.
And so that just is kind of gut-wrenching. And the fact that there was a survivor, which, sorry if I'm spoiling the episode.
Go watch the episode.
Go watch the episode, and then maybe we'll redo it. Maybe we'll do a deep dive or something. But yeah, the fact that there was a survivor who now has to live with what happened is, I really feel for her. But I also am like, this person is inspirational in the fact that how strong they are. Right. Which we talked about that the other day. So you're very shed light on the victims, focus on the victims. And I was actually going to have you watch this. I haven't had you watch this yet. Philip DeFranco did a one of his segments on ethical true crime, even after the first one I sent you. He did two of them.
Okay.
And he was talking about ethical true crime and shedding light on the victims. And he really talked about Gabby Petito. Talked about the missing white woman syndrome, things like that, but also talked about how harmful some of the true crime theories out there can be. So definitely worth a watch. I'm a big Philip DeFranco fan. But where I was going to go with that is we've talked a lot about ethical true crime. We didn't label it as that, but we've talked a lot about it. So your big focus is the victims, right? Like you try really hard not to focus on the killer as much as the victims.
Right. I do think that the heart of the community is that a lot of the people that do this, that like true crime, genuinely want to help people. I don't think you get into true crime if you're, not a good person. I think there's some people, I'm sure.
Maybe.
But I think the majority of the podcasts I listen to, the TV shows I see, even the comments are, how can we help this person? Sometimes it's misguided.
Right.
Sometimes helpers aren't helpful.
Right.
And I think that's where we're seeing a lot of things right now is like when you get obsessed with a case, you muddy the waters sometimes.
Right.
And the investigators, whether or not we like to believe it, are doing their job.
Right.
And they can't do their job when you have tens of thousands of people muddying the waters. So I think at the end of the day, I think we all just want to bring it back to how can we help people?
Right.
And I think that's my biggest focus is I want to be able to do this enough to where I can eventually help more. Right now I'm just talking, but eventually I want to be able to do things to help. I would love to be a documentary filmmaker. I'd love to get actual people's interviews. I'd love to be able to donate money. But I'm just a measly YouTuber who has no money. I'm like, can I have some more, please?
Well, I wouldn't say you don't help, though, because I do know that you try really hard to, I mentioned the missing white woman syndrome. You try really hard to cover persons of color cases that are getting nothing. And you even did a video on it where you were like, it drives me insane because I can't get anything.
Yeah, it makes me very mad.
I can't get any info. And so I do think you're helping in that way. It sometimes probably doesn't feel like you are because you can't get much. Like you've even said sometimes you can't even get a picture, which is horrible.
Right.
But I do think you are helping and you are trying to help and doing what you can with what information is available to the public, at least.
Yep, and I'm doing my best. I know with the podcast, it is very hard in podcasting to do new cases. It's just impossible. You write up a case, it changes. You also don't have enough to write up a case. And so with the podcast, a lot of the times I'm doing older cases, which are fun and like interesting, and you learn so much from them. But on my YouTube channel is where I really try to do Kansas City cases, cases that are people of color, indigenous, just trying to get names out there that are just not in other media.
Right, so you're kind of brings me to the case that blew up for you. The not Gabby Petito. If you broke that one, you would be
I would be
blown up a lot more.
famous.
Yeah. Cassidy Rainwater.
Yes.
So that was in the area. We'll have to do more of a dive into it because we don't have the information on hand. There's been more changes since you did the last cases. But when you did her case, what drew you to her was partially that it wasn't being covered, right?
Right. It was a local case, and I still don't think nationally it's very popular. A lot of the people, the viewership I've gained has been people from the area because they're like, oh, we saw this happening.
We saw it on our local news.
I am telling you, that case is the craziest case, and no one knows about it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how?
Right.
So go watch Cassie Rainwater. I have a whole playlist. Go find that.
Yeah.
Click on it and subscribe too. But it's an interesting case because people still don't know anything about it.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking possible cannibals. We're talking fire, explosions. I mean, it's like a made-for-TV movie.
It is. It is.
Going back to one other thing, though. So this is something I think is weird that the true crime community does, and maybe this is because I'm probably more on the outside of the true crime community. But earlier you said, you're like, I do some older cases that are kind of fun. Like, I'm like, okay, so
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right. People say like, I covered the Ted Bundy case. It was fun. And it's like, but he did murder a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I just think that's an interesting concept, but I think and correct me, and maybe I should just pass it off to you to answer it, but I think for me, when people say it's fun, it's not fun that people got hurt.
Right.
Like, I don't think anybody feels that way. I
Right.
think people feel like it's fun because you're trying to either A, solve a mystery in cases that haven't been solved, or B, you're trying to understand the psychology of what would make somebody do that.
Right.
What would make, Ted Bundy or whoever do that to people? What was it in that person that just snapped and made them the less than 1% that goes crazy like that?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that, though? The whole saying a case is fun, like.
Well, a verbiage is very hard when you get to true crime, because also, you have the I'm a true crime fan. I'm not a fan of true crime. I'm not a fan of like
people actually getting hurt.
Right. I'm a fan of the medium. Like, I don't know. But you're not, like I said, we're not in this to make fun of victims. We're not in this to, I make fun of the killers. Yes.
Which I don't think is bad, because to me, I'm like, who cares about them?
Right.
The killers. I'm like, I don't care if you make jokes about them left and right.
I think with older cases, especially serial killer cases, the Gacy's, the Bundys, the, Dahmers, we're so far removed from it that it becomes one of those like, oh, he was an interesting person. It's not that the victims matter any less.
Right.
And I've said this a million times, and I know you're probably getting tired of it, but like, I go up to someone and I'm like, name me a Bundy victim.
Yeah.
No idea, but Ted Bundy. Know, he's famous almost as much as like the Kardashians or, political figures.
Right.
So those victims matter too, which I think is interesting in our field, because you're bringing them up every time you're talking
or you should
about
be,
Ted Bundy. You should be, yes. And also the psychology part of it. We get to be able to try to stop these and prevent these from happening.
Right.
We get to see patterns. We get to, like, the handwriting analysis. We get to kind of like get ahead of the game if we can.
Right.
So that's the interesting part of true crime for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I do think when you said preventing, I do think this was going back to the DeFranco thing. He touched on this a bit, but a lot of people think that, so primarily, and not all of it, but it sounds like primarily the viewership of true crime is usually women, which is assumed. Most people assume that. But one of the reasons he gave in that was that it's also assumed that maybe it's a protective thing in terms of like learning how to defend yourself.
Yes.
Learning how to stay safe. Can you quote the Crime Junkies line? Do you remember it off the top of your head? Be weird?
Wait.
I'm tripping you up now.
Be rude, be weird. Wait.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Be rude, be weird. Stay alive? Something like that. Something along those lines.
Which I love because it's right. Like, I don't care if you're being, just a complete jerk to somebody because you don't feel right in that situation. Trust your gut and get out of the situation. It's better to be rude to somebody and stay alive.
Right.
But that's something I thought was interesting with what you were saying, because you're talking about preventative stuff. I feel like some of these cases, we've even talked about it in some of these cases, other podcasts talk about, is like, okay, so if you find yourself in this situation, here's some things you can do to stay safe.
Right.
Which is pretty cool, and I think it's pretty good to have out there. I think that's good for people to learn those things, because if you weren't sitting there thinking about it, you probably never would think about being in that situation.
Right. I mean, we've learned a lot from true crime over the years. I mean, we had this boom in the 70s of serial killers, and you had all these interviews, and people were like, it's the kind of town we didn't lock our doors.
Right.
Lock your dang doors. We now know to lock our windows and our doors.
I was just thinking about that too. I was like sitting there going, man, things were so much more trusting back then, where you didn't give a second thought about walking to school.
Right.
And now people are like, I don't want my kid walking to school by themselves.
Right.
Because we've heard, and we're so cautious now. And I think a lot of that is true crime. Is because people are like, I know it can happen if my kid walks to school, and I would rather see them to the door.
Yeah. I don't even want my kid to go into the school anymore.
Well, that's a full nother video.
Yep, full
that
nother
could
thing.
Probably go on for a long time. But,
right. And we're reaching like 40 minutes, 45 minutes.
Really?
So I think so.
Fast.
Yeah. So, any other last questions?
I've got so many that we could probably do 2 or 3 parts of this. So one thing I would say is, if all of you like this format, I think it would be awesome to do a live like this.
Ooh, it would be.
Where we kind of just go back and forth. And like she said, she loves the community. And so it would be awesome for you guys to join for a live sometime and just throw out any question, no matter how insane. And we could just riff back and forth like this, because probably talk all day.
Right. This was really fun. I think it's a really good relaxed version of us. Yeah, and
so we've known each other for probably 15 years now. So that's part of how we're so relaxed. So yeah, we can definitely have these back and forths more. I'm trying to think of one real hard-hitting question to give you for a last one. So
we do this anyway.
Yeah. We
without the camera, he's like...
Who knows? If the camera stopped recording, we're probably doing this without you guys already.
Right. We're just sitting in a room talking.
Yeah, we're just, normal conversation.
Right.
All right. So the last conversation I'm going to leave you with is, where do you see Code 187 going?
Oh my gosh, sky's the limit. I try to visualize. I do this like visualization thing lately.
It feels like you're like meditating.
Pretty much. And I have all these goals, and they tell you, my guru that I've been listening to says that you have to immerse yourself in the goal. And so you taste it and you feel it and you smell it. And
I'm sorry I laughed, but I'm sitting here, my mind immediately went to taste your goal. Pizza. Pizza. Ooh, I need to go make a pizza. Sorry, that is completely disturbing a serious comment there.
No, it's fine. So I've been visualizing the success of this channel. I think that it's going to go far, and I think it's going to help people. I really want to be able to have a more widespread audience, in the fact that we're closer. Like doing these things, you get to know who I am.
Right.
Before, I'm just a face telling you a horrible story every week, and then I'm gone.
Right.
And you don't get to see who I am. And so I want to do more things like this. But I see it just taking off and being a community,
Yeah.
which is what I've always wanted. So my happy place.
Well, and I will add my 2 cents here. From having, like I said, known you for 15 years, there are a lot of things that you've said that you would like to do to give back to that community at a certain point. So I think it's cool that, if the Code 187 keeps growing like you're hoping that it is, and I think it will, that you've got all these ideas of ways that you want to personally give back to the people that are here with you every week.
Right.
And that just to me speaks about how much you care about your subscribers, your community, the people that are commenting, the people that are watching. So I think that's really cool that we've talked about before. One of my favorite musicians is Lizzie Hale, and that's one of the things she does is she makes sure to make time for all of her fans. And if she can't make time for all of them, she makes time for as much as possible. And I feel like you kind of follow that same philosophy, is that you want to do nice things for your fans. You want to get to the point where you get big enough to where you can do more things for your fans and try to make their days more. So I think that's an interesting behind the scene thing that you guys might not get to see. She actually really cares about you guys a lot. So you might, I don't know if it comes through on the videos. Hopefully it does. But even when the camera's not rolling, she says that stuff to me where she's like, this person commented on my video today, and this person said this, and it was an interesting thought that I'd never thought of. So don't just feel like you're not part of the Code 187 community, because she legitimately eats, breathes, sleeps it, and she loves you guys.
I'm gonna cry. It's so sweet.
Well, now I don't want to make you cry, so I feel like I got to stop it.
It's very true. I want to be able to give you guys merch and meet you and send you letters and talk about, talk like this to you, like who's your favorite and what's all of that.
Interesting, yeah.
We'll get there, guys.
Yeah,
slowly but surely.
A lot of things that you have, like you said, big dreams for. So big things coming, kind of as the channel grows.
Yeah.
But we're glad for those of you who came along for the ride.
Yeah.
And anybody new.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
I've been a part of now 4 episodes, so I'm very new.
Been a part of 4 episodes.
Yeah, so I'm barely part of it. And if you guys don't like me, just tell me to go.
Me too. Like, if you'd rather him do it, I guess that's fine.
You don't want that, because she is the researcher, like I said, and I am the color commentary. We've talked about we might do an episode though, where I research one and put you in the
that'd be so
opposite.
I could relax.
Yeah, you don't know how much work she puts in on this stuff. So she's always researching. So I need to try to research one. Knowing me, will probably do something famous. So, and when I say famous, it's going to be like not famous as in Ted Bundy famous, probably more as in Kurt Cobain famous, like a musician, a rock star, just somebody that's a well-known figure, because it blows my mind that people live such a different life, but then something like that still happens to somebody. And conspiracies too. So yeah, that may be something I do at some point. I may put her in the other chair where she gets to do the color commentary, and
heck yeah, bring it on.
Try to do the best research I can do. But thank you guys for joining us for this weird impromptu get to know you session.
Right.
I've been Drew.
And I've been Sarah. I'm always Sarah.
And I'm always Drew. Not Andrew. Don't call me Andrew.
Yeah. And don't call me Spandrew.
What?
I don't know. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like any of the content for Code 187, please click that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. Help us out, help us grow. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms. yeah, check us out on there. Give us some ratings. Tell us what you think. We're also across every social media on Code 187. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's it. And of course, YouTube. So please, please, please subscribe if you like our content and spread the word. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.